Why did Vito Corleone really kill Don Fanucci that night? Was it survival? Ambition? Or did he see something everyone else missed? Today, we're uncovering the hidden truth behind the most important decision in Godfather history. What if Vito had made the opposite choice? Let's find out. The 16th of August, 1920. Little Italy, New York. The Feast of San Rocco fills the streets with music and the smell of roasted chestnuts. Fireworks explode overhead. Children run between vendor carts. Families celebrate. Vito Corleone stands on a rooftop. 29 years old. Married. 3 young sons. He watches Don Fanucci walk home through the crowds below, the black-hand extortionist who controls the neighborhood. The man who demands tribute from every shop. The man who cost Vito his grocery job. Fanucci wears his signature cream suit. Gold watch chain. Scarred throat from an old attack. He walks alone. No bodyguards, no protection. This confirms what Vito suspected. A real Don never walks alone. Hours earlier, Fanucci demanded $600 from Vito and his partners. $200 each. Protection money. Vito offered only $100. Fanucci accepted. That acceptance proved everything. A man with real power never negotiates, never accepts less, never walks streets unprotected. Vito descends through the rooftop door. 3rd floor. Fanucci's apartment building. He unscrews the hallway light bulb. Waits in shadows. Gun wrapped in towel. The festa music drowns everything. Fanucci arrives. Reaches up to fix the broken bulb. Vito steps forward. 3 shots. Chest. Chest. Throat. The towel muffles the sound. The fireworks outside mask what little noise escapes. Fanucci falls. Dead. Vito retrieves the money Fanucci collected earlier. Dismantles the gun. Drops pieces down different chimneys. Returns to the festival. Stands with his wife. Holds his infant son. Nobody suspects. Nobody knows. Within months, the neighborhood calls him Don Corleone. The grocery clerk becomes the Godfather. He protects families. Builds Genco Olive Oil Company. Creates an empire that lasts 40 years. His sons grow powerful. His family untouchable. But what if that night went differently? What if Vito believed Fanucci's lies about protection from Maranzalla? What if he paid the $200 and walked away? The 16th of August, 1920. Same night, same rooftop, different choice. Vito Corleone stands above Fanucci's apartment, gun in his coat pocket, towel wrapped around the barrel. The festa music plays below. Fireworks explode. The perfect moment approaches. Everything is ready, but Vito's hand trembles. Not from fear, from doubt. He remembers Clemenza's words from 3 nights ago. The conversation over dinner, Tessio's insistence. Both men certain, both men afraid. Maranzalla protects Fanucci. The most feared Black Hand leader in New York. The man who controls everything. The man whose name makes police captains nervous. Vito looks down at the street. Fanucci walks alone. No bodyguards. But maybe that's confidence. Maybe that's what real power looks like. Maybe men with Maranzalla's protection don't need guards. Who would dare attack them? Vito thinks of his wife. Carmela, pregnant again, 3 sons already. Sonny, barely 3 years old. Fredo, just 1. Baby Michael, if Maranzalla retaliates. If the stories are true, if Fanucci really has connections, his family dies. All of them. That's how the mafia works. Kill a man's family, make him watch, then kill him last. Vito unwraps the towel, puts the gun back in his pocket, walks down the stairs, not through Fanucci's building, through the adjacent one, back to the street, back to the festa, back to his family. He finds Clemenza near a vendor cart, pulls him aside, speaks quietly, his voice steady, his decision final. I'll pay him tomorrow. The full amount, $200. Clemenza nods. Relief floods his face. He grips Vito's shoulder. You made the right choice. Maranzalla would have buried us all. Fanucci's connected. We can't fight that. Tessio agrees when Vito tells him. Both men will pay their shares. $600 total. Protection money. The cost of survival. The price of keeping families safe. The next morning, Vito goes to Fanucci's apartment. Bright daylight. No shadows. No gun. Just an envelope. $200. Everything Fanucci demanded. Fanucci answers the door in an undershirt. Suspenders hanging. Hair uncombed. Not the intimidating figure from the streets. Just a man. Middle-aged. Soft. but Vito pushes that observation away. Appearances deceive. Power hides behind ordinary faces. "Ah, young Vito," Fanucci smiles, takes the envelope, counts the bills. "Smart boy. You understand respect, not like those fools who test me. They learn, eventually, but you're different. You see how things work." Fanucci pockets the money, pats Vito's cheek. "I told you I'd find you work. Good money. I keep my promises. Come by next week. I'll introduce you to some people. You'll do well. You've got the right attitude." Vito nods, says nothing, leaves, walking home through Little Italy. The morning sun harsh, the streets different in daylight, vendors setting up, shopkeepers sweeping, everyone preparing for another day of paying tribute. Another day of submission. Vito passes Genko's father's bakery. The old man waves. Vito waves back, Genko inside, working the counter. The job Vito lost when Fanucci forced his nephew into the position. That nephew, Santiago, incompetent, rude to customers, but employed, because Fanucci demanded it. This is how the world works, Vito tells himself. The strong take, the weak give. Fanucci is strong, has connections, has Maranzalla's protection. Fighting him would be suicide. Fighting him would orphan his son. But at home, Carmela sees his face, knows something changed. She's Sicilian. She reads men, especially her husband. "You paid him?" "Yes." "All of it?" "Yes." She touches his hand. "You protected us. That's what matters." Vito wants to believe her, wants to feel relief, wants to accept that submission equals safety. But something gnaws at him. Something he saw in Fanucci's apartment, the way Fanucci counted the money. Slowly, carefully. Not like a man accustomed to tribute, like a man surprised to receive it, like a man who expected resistance. And the apartment itself, small, modest, no guards outside, no enforcers waiting, just Fanucci, alone, in an undershirt, counting $200 like it mattered, like it was significant money. Would a man connected to Maranzalla live this way? But Vito crushes that doubt. He made his choice, the safe choice, the smart choice, the choice that keeps his family breathing. 2 weeks later, Fanucci sends word. Vito should come to the cafe, the promised work, the introduction to important people. Vito goes, sits across from Fanucci, listens. The work is simple. Collect money from shops on Mulberry Street, 10% of weekly earnings, protection money. Some will refuse. Vito must convince them, however necessary. Fanucci provides names, addresses, expected amounts. You'll keep 20% of everything you collect. Good money, steady work, and you'll have my protection, Maranzalla's protection. Nobody touches you. Vito takes the list, nods, accepts. He becomes Fanucci's collector, one of several. The job he swore he'd never do, taking money from immigrants, from families like his, from people who can't afford to pay. But he tells himself it's necessary. It's survival. It's protecting his own family. Clemenza and Tessio distance themselves. Not angry, just uncomfortable. They continue their small robberies, their petty thefts. They pay Fanucci monthly. But they don't work for him. They don't become his hands. Vito does, because he believed the lie, because he chose fear over courage, because he thought submission meant safety. What Vito doesn't know, what he won't learn for years, what will haunt him forever. Fanucci had no protection. Maranzalla didn't know his name. The two bookies who refused to pay, Joe the Greek, Frank Pignataro, they never faced consequences, because there was nothing to face. Fanucci was alone, always alone, just a con man with a scarred throat and a cream suit, pretending to have power he never possessed. And Vito Corleone just became his employee. September 1920, 1 month later, Vito Corleone walks Mulberry Street with Fanucci's list. 10 names, 10 shops, 10 families who must pay. First stop, bakery. The owner sees Vito coming. Face hardens. He knows why Vito is here. Everyone knows. The neighborhood talks. Vito Corleone works for Fanucci now, collects tribute, takes money from his own people. $20, Vito says. Keeps his voice flat. Professional, not cruel, not kind, just business. The baker counts bills from the register. His hands shake. $20, a week's profit, maybe more. He has 3 daughters, a sick wife. This money could buy medicine, buy food. Buy time, but he pays. Everyone pays. That's how it works. Vito takes the money, moves to the next shop, and the next. By evening, he's collected $230. Fanucci's cut, $184. Vito's share, $46. Good money, steady money, money that feeds his family, money that pays rent, money earned by taking from people who have less than him. He brings the cash to Fanucci. The old man counts it. Twice. Nods approval. Good work. You're reliable. Not like the others. They skim. They lie about amounts. But you're honest. I respect that. Vito says nothing. Pockets his share. Walks home. Carmela sees the money. $46. More than Vito made in a month at the grocery store. More than he made selling stolen dresses with Clemenza. She doesn't ask where it came from. Doesn't need to. The neighborhood already told her. It's just temporary, Vito says. Not sure who he's convincing, her or himself. Until I find something better, something legitimate. But months pass. September becomes October. October becomes winter. Winter becomes spring. Vito still collects. Still brings money to Fanucci. Still takes his 20%. Still avoids Clemenza and Tessio when he sees them on the street. June 1921. Fanucci calls Vito to the cafe. Important meeting. Vito sits, waits. Fanucci lights a cigar, smiles that same smile. Business is good. You've done well. But costs are rising. Everything costs more. So the prices go up. $25 per shop now. Not 20. You'll still keep 20%. Vito starts to protest. Stops himself. What can he say? He works for Fanucci. He chose this. He accepted this. He has no leverage, no power, no position to negotiate. Yes, Don Fanucci. The shopkeepers react differently. Some pay quietly, resigned, defeated. Others argue, plead, show Vito their empty registers, their hungry children, their impossible choices. But Vito collects anyway, because that's the job, because that's survival, because refusing Fanucci means losing everything. December 1922. 2 years since the night Vito chose submission. Fanucci raises prices again. $30 per shop. Some locations can't afford it. Close permanently. Families lose everything. Move away. Scatter. The neighborhood shrinks. Fear spreads. More businesses close. More families leave. Little Italy becomes a place people escape from. Not a community. Not a home. Just a trap. A place where Fanucci's cream suit appears on collection day and money disappears into his pockets. Vito's own family grows. Fourth son born. Santino turns 6. Smart kid. Observant. Watches his father leave every week with the collection bag. Watches him return with less money than he left with. Watches him hand tribute to Fanucci at the cafe. One morning Santino asks the question Vito dreads. Papa, why do you give that man money? Vito doesn't know how to answer. How do you explain submission to a 6-year-old? How do you teach your son that power matters more than pride, that safety requires cowardice? Because he's connected. He has protection. We have to respect that. Santino's face twists, not understanding, not accepting, just confused. His father, strong, capable, afraid of a fat man in a white suit. Years pass. 1923, 1924, 1925. Fanucci's demands never stop, never decrease, only grow. $40 per shop, then 50. The neighborhood hemorrhages. Half the businesses that existed in 1920 are gone by 1925. Families scattered across New York. Some returned to Sicily, some moved to other cities. Anything to escape Fanucci's reach. Clemenza and Tessio still operate, still steal, still fence goods, but carefully, quietly. They pay Fanucci his tribute, but nothing more. They don't work for him, don't collect for him. They keep their independence, keep their dignity. They see Vito sometimes, nod politely. But the friendship died, the partnership dissolved. Vito chose a different path, chose submission, chose to become Fanucci's hand instead of his own man. January 1926. Santino turns 9, gets in a fight at school. Another Italian boy called his father Fanucci's dog. Santino breaks the boy's nose, gets suspended, comes home bloody, angry, ashamed. Vito tries to explain, tries to justify, But Santino won't listen, won't accept. He sees what his father became, sees the truth everyone knows. His father is not a man to respect. His father is a collector, a tool, an extension of a bully's greed. That night, Vito lies awake. Carmela sleeping beside him, 4 sons in the next room. He thinks about that August night in 1920. The rooftop, the gun, the choice. He chose safety, chose to believe Fanucci's protection was real, chose to avoid risk, chose to submit rather than fight. And what did that choice earn him? Money, yes. Survival, yes. But at what cost? His son doesn't respect him. His old friends avoid him. The neighborhood fears him. Not because he's powerful, because he's Fanucci's creature. Because he enforces another man's will. Because he never became the Godfather. Never built an empire. Never protected anyone. Just collected. Just obeyed. Just survived. Fanucci still walks alone. Still lives in that same modest apartment. Still counts money like it matters. Still claims connection to Maranzalla. And nobody tests it. Nobody challenges it. Because men like Vito made the safe choice. Made the smart choice. Made the choice that preserved their own families while bleeding everyone else dry. What Vito doesn't see. What he still hasn't learned. What will destroy him. Fanucci has no protection. Never did. Never will. The 2 bookies still don't pay. Joe the Greek and Frank Pignataro still operate freely. Still refuse tribute. Still live without consequence. Because Maranzalla doesn't exist. Because Fanucci is alone. Always has been. Always will be. But Vito chose to believe the lie. And now he's trapped. Trapped in a job he hates. Trapped serving a man with no real power. Trapped watching his neighborhood die. Trapped teaching his sons that submission equals survival. And 6,000 miles away in Sicily. And 3,000 miles away in Chicago. And right here in New York. Real mafia families watch. Real dons notice. There's profitable territory in Little Italy. Unprotected territory. Territory controlled by a con man with no backing. They're coming. And when they arrive, everything changes. March 1927. 7 years since the night Vito chose submission. Little Italy is dying. Slowly, quietly, inevitably. Half the shops that existed in 1920 are gone. Boarded windows, empty storefronts. Fanucci's tribute crushed them. $50 per week, 60, 70. The amounts climb every year. Business owners can't survive, can't compete, can't breathe under the weight of endless payments. Families scatter. The Lombardis move to Brooklyn. The Russos return to Sicily. The Bianchis try Chicago. Every month another family leaves. Another apartment goes empty. Another piece of the neighborhood disappears. Vito still collects. Still walks shop to shop. Still takes Fanucci's tribute. His own cut has grown. 30% now. Fanucci needs reliable men more than ever. The neighborhood shrinks. The money decreases. Fanucci compensates by keeping less for himself, paying more to his collectors. But Vito sees the mathematics, sees the inevitable conclusion. The system is collapsing, bleeding out. Soon there will be nothing left to collect, nothing left to take, nothing left but empty streets and memories. Santino turns 10, Fredo 8, Michael 6, baby Connie 2, 4 children, growing up watching their father walk out every Monday with an empty bag, return with cash, hand most of it to a fat man in a cream suit. Santino's anger grows, becomes resentment, becomes hatred, not of Fanucci, of Vito, his father, the man who submits, the man who obeys, the man who teaches his sons that power belongs to other men. School becomes impossible. Santino fights constantly, gets suspended, gets expelled, starts running with street gangs, boys from Irish neighborhoods, boys who don't respect Italians, boys who mock Santino's last name, mock his father's reputation, mock the fact that Corleone means nothing, means weakness, means submission. Vito tries to stop it, tries to discipline, tries to explain, but Santino won't listen, can't listen, sees only what his father is, not what he could have been. Then August 1927. Everything shifts. New faces appear in Little Italy. Not residents, not shop owners, not immigrants seeking community. Professionals, organized, connected. 3 men in expensive suits, not cream-colored like Fanucci's, dark, tailored, New York quality. They sit in cafes, watch the streets, ask questions, Polite questions, careful questions. Questions about who runs things, who collects tribute, who controls territory. The neighborhood answers carefully. Nervous. These men are different, move different, talk different, carry themselves with actual authority, real authority, not Fanucci's fake dominance. Not his costume and bluster, real power, the kind that doesn't need to announce itself. Vito sees them, recognizes what they represent. Real mafia, actual families, organizations with structure, with backing, with violence when necessary and patience when useful. They're scouting, evaluating, preparing to move into profitable territory. Fanucci sees them too. For the first time in years, fear crosses his face. Brief, quickly hidden, but Vito notices. Everyone notices. The three men visit Fanucci. Private meeting, closed door, 30 minutes. When they leave, Fanucci is sweating, hands shaking, the cream suit stained under the arms. Whatever was said, whatever was demanded, shook him. Fanucci calls his collectors together, Vito and 4 others. Emergency meeting. His voice tight, controlled, trying to project confidence he doesn't feel. We have new partners. They'll take a percentage. We continue as normal. Nothing changes for you. Keep collecting. Keep your shares. But 50% goes to them now, not to me, to them. One collector asks the obvious question. Who are they? Fanucci's answer confirms what everyone suspected. The Maranzalla family. But now everyone knows. Fanucci never had Maranzalla's protection, never had connections. For 7 years he lied. For 7 years he claimed backing that didn't exist. And now the real Maranzalla family arrives. Not to protect him, to exploit him, to take what he built on lies and fear. The collections continue, but the mathematics change. Shops pay $70 per week. Fanucci takes 35. The Maranzalla men take 35. Collectors split what remains. Vito's share drops. $20 per week. Less than he made as Fanucci's employee in 1920. Less for more risk, more danger, more exposure. Because the Maranzalla men don't stay hidden, don't stay quiet. They walk the streets, assert dominance, make their presence known. They carry guns openly. Not concealed like Fanucci's old revolver. Displayed, visible, warning and promise combined. Other families notice. Territory disputes begin. Not wars yet, not violence, just tension, just positioning, just quiet threats and territorial markers. The Genovese family operates 3 blocks north. The Lucchese family controls areas east. Now Maranzalla moves into Little Italy. Boundaries shift, alliances form, conflicts simmer. Vito finds himself in the middle. Not powerful, not protected, just a collector, a street-level employee, expendable, replaceable, one of dozens. If violence starts, men like him die first, die fastest, die forgotten. Clemenza and Tessio watch from distance, still independent, still operating their own small robberies. They stopped paying Fanucci 3 years ago, quietly, without announcement, just stopped. And nothing happened, no retaliation, no consequences, because Fanucci was always powerless, always alone. They understood that. Vito didn't. Now they see Vito trapped. See him collecting for both Fanucci and Maranzalla. See him caught between organizations, between territories, between men with real power who view him as a tool, a temporary tool, useful until he isn't. December 1927. Winter arrives. Harsh, bitter, colder than usual. Shops close earlier, streets empty faster. The Maranzalla men increase presence, more enforcers, more guns, more visibility. Fanucci's position deteriorates. He's not the boss anymore, not the don, just a middleman, a go-between, a face the neighborhood knows. But power belongs to other men now. Men who don't wear cream suits, men who don't need to. Vito walks home one night, late, after collections, sees Santino on a corner, with Irish boys, rough boys, dangerous boys. They're smoking, drinking. One has a knife visible in his belt. They see Vito, laugh, not respectful laughter, mocking laughter. Santino doesn't defend his father, doesn't stand, doesn't acknowledge him, just looks away, ashamed, embarrassed. His father, the collector, the man who works for men who work for other men, the man with no power, no respect, no future. Vito keeps walking. Nothing else to do. Can't confront the boys. Can't discipline his son in front of them. Can't assert authority he doesn't have. Just walks, head down, coat pulled tight against cold wind. That night he thinks about August 1920 again. The rooftop, the gun, the choice. He chose safety, chose to believe Fanucci's lies, chose to protect his family by submitting to power he thought was real. 7 years later, his neighborhood is dying, his reputation destroyed. His son runs with gangs. His work serves organizations he never agreed to serve. And real violence approaches. Territory wars, family conflicts, the kind of mafia warfare that kills civilians, that destroys neighborhoods, that leaves bodies in streets and widows in apartments. The storm is coming. Vito can feel it, taste it. The Maranzalla family won't share territory forever. Other families won't accept their expansion quietly. Someone will push back. Someone will fight. And when violence starts, men like Vito, collectors, street level, unprotected, they die first. He chose submission to protect his family. But submission didn't bring protection, brought exposure, brought danger, brought his sons into a world where their father's weakness makes them targets, makes them vulnerable, makes them prey. And still, Fanucci walks the streets, alone, unprotected, surviving on luck and the willingness of real mafia families to use him temporarily, a con man who should have died 7 years ago. Who would have died if one immigrant, one grocery clerk, one father had chosen courage over fear? February 1928. The war starts on a Tuesday. Not announced, not declared, just happens. 2 Maranzalla enforcers walk into a cafe on Hester Street, Genovese territory, 3 blocks north of the agreed boundary. They sit, order coffee, assert presence. The Genovese family responds. 4 men, not talking, not negotiating, just acting. They enter the cafe, guns visible, message clear, leave or die. The Maranzalla men don't leave. One reaches for his weapon. Too slow. 4 shots, both men dead. Coffee still steaming on the table, blood pooling on tile floor. Customers screaming, running, scattering into streets. By evening, retaliation comes. Maranzalla soldiers find a Genovese numbers runner, corner him in an alley off Mulberry Street. 2 shots, body left visible, warning to everyone. This is war now. Little Italy becomes battlefield. Not soldiers and trenches. Worse, civilians and businesses, families and homes. The kind of war where everyone is exposed. Everyone is vulnerable. Everyone can die. Fanucci panics. Calls emergency meeting with his collectors. Vito and the others arrive. Find Fanucci sweating, shaking. The cream suit wrinkled, stained. He's lost weight, lost composure, lost everything except fear. Stop collections temporarily. Stay off streets during evening. The families are settling territory. It will pass. Just stay quiet. Stay invisible. But staying invisible is impossible. Vito lives in Little Italy, works in Little Italy. His children play in Little Italy. His wife shops in Little Italy. You can't become invisible in your own neighborhood. Can't hide in your own home. March 1928. Violence escalates. A bomb destroys a Maranzalla gambling house. 3 dead, 12 injured. The explosion shatters windows 3 blocks away. Vito's apartment windows crack. Glass shards on the floor where Connie crawls, where Michael plays, where his family sleeps. The Maranzalla response is immediate, systematic. They target Genovese businesses, not just illegal operations, legitimate shops, restaurants, bakeries, places that pay protection to Genovese, places caught between organizations, places that burn. 5 fires in 1 week. Smoke fills the streets. Families evacuate. The fire department arrives too late, too often, too overwhelmed. Little Italy becomes smoke and ash and fear. Vito tries to keep his family safe, keeps them inside, keeps windows covered, keeps door locked. But safety is illusion. Walls don't stop bullets. Locks don't stop bombs. Staying inside just means dying inside instead of outside. Santino refuses to hide. 11 years old, angry, reckless. His Irish gang operates in neutral territory. They run errands for both sides, deliver messages, move packages, dangerous work. Stupid work. work that gets young boys killed. Vito confronts him, demands he stay home, stay safe, stay away from the war. Santino's response cuts deeper than any insult. You can't protect us. You couldn't protect the neighborhood. Can't even protect yourself. Why would I listen to you? The words are true. Vito knows they're true. 7 years collecting for Fanucci, 7 years submitting, 7 years watching his reputation die, and now, when his family needs protection, when his sons need a father with power, with connections, with the ability to keep them safe, he has nothing, is nothing, just another civilian, just another victim waiting for violence to find him. April 1928, Fanucci disappears, not hiding, not running, just gone. His apartment empty, his cafe seat vacant. Nobody knows where, nobody cares. The man who controlled Little Italy for a decade, the man who claimed Maranzalla's protection, gone like smoke, like he never mattered, like he never existed. 2 days later, his body appears, dumped in an alley off Mott Street, 3 shots, chest, head, professional, clean, the cream suit soaked red, the gold watch gone, the scarred throat cut again, deeper this time, final this time. Nobody claims responsibility, nobody needs to. Everyone understands. Fanucci was a liability, a loose end, a con man who attracted attention. The Maranzalla family eliminated him, not because he betrayed them, because he was useless, because keeping him alive served no purpose. The neighborhood barely reacts. No funeral, no mourning, no respect, just relief that he's gone. Relief mixed with terror, because if Fanucci could be killed, if the man who controlled everything for years could be eliminated casually, dumped like garbage, then nobody is safe, nobody is protected, nobody matters. Vito stares at the body. Police haven't arrived yet. Crime scene not secured. Just Fanucci. Dead, in an alley, alone. The way he always was. The way Vito suspected 7 years ago. The way Vito should have known. 1 bullet. August 1920. That's all it would have taken. 3 shots. Chest, throat. Fanucci would have died then. Died when it mattered. Died before 7 years of tribute. Before the neighborhood bled dry. Before real mafia families moved in. Before war started. Before everything collapsed. But Vito chose submission. Chose to believe the lies. And Fanucci lived 7 extra years. Lived long enough to destroy dozens of families. Long enough to attract real mafia attention. Long enough to turn Little Italy into a war zone. And then died anyway. Killed by the very organization he claimed protected him. The organization that never knew his name until he became a problem. May 1928. Santino doesn't come home one night. Carmela waits, pacing, praying. Vito searches the streets, desperate, asking everyone, checking every corner, every alley, every place young boys gather. He finds Clemenza instead, his old partner, his old friend. They haven't spoken in years. Not since Vito chose to work for Fanucci. Not since Vito chose submission over independence. Clemenza's face says everything before words come. Sympathetic, sad, final. Your boy, Santino. He was running packages for the Irish crew. Got caught in crossfire near Canal Street. Genovese soldiers thought he was Maranzalla. He's at Bellevue Hospital. Critical. Vito runs. Doesn't thank Clemenza. Doesn't speak. Just runs. Through streets. Through smoke. Through the war zone his neighborhood became. The war zone he helped create by choosing cowardice 7 years ago. Bellevue Hospital. Chaos. Wounded everywhere. Gang war casualties. Innocent bystanders. Children, women, men. The violence doesn't discriminate. Doesn't care who deserves it. Who doesn't. Just spreads. Just destroys. Just kills. Santino is unconscious. Bullet through his shoulder. Another grazed his skull. 11 years old. Bleeding. Dying. Because his father had no power to protect him. No connections to keep him safe. No reputation to make enemies think twice. Doctors work. Nurses rush. Vito sits. Useless. Helpless. Everything he feared 7 years ago. Everything he tried to prevent by submitting to Fanucci, by believing lies, by choosing safety that never existed. It's happening anyway. Worse than if he'd fought. Worse than if he'd killed Fanucci when he had the chance. Worse because 7 years of submission brought nothing. protected nobody, saved no one. Carmela arrives, sees Santino, sees the blood, sees their son fighting for life. She doesn't cry, doesn't scream, just looks at Vito. One look, one expression, one question that doesn't need words. How did we get here? How did our son end up shot? How did submission lead to this? Vito has no answer, no justification, no explanation that makes sense. He chose safety, chose to avoid violence, chose to believe that paying tribute would protect his family. And his son is bleeding. His neighborhood is burning. His life is ashes. Outside the hospital windows, Little Italy burns. Literally, another fire, another bombing, another casualty of the war between families. The war that started because territory was unprotected, because Fanucci was weak, because for 7 years nobody challenged him, nobody stopped him, nobody killed him when killing him would have mattered. Santino survives. Barely. The bullet missed his brain by inches. The shoulder wound will heal, but something else died that night, something permanent. The last piece of respect Santino had for his father, the last thread of family unity, the last hope that submission could ever lead to safety. Because now Santino knows what Vito learned 7 years too late. In this world, in this life, in this neighborhood, you're either predator or prey, either hunter or hunted, either powerful or dead. There is no middle ground, no neutral position, no safety in submission. And Vito Corleone chose to be prey, chose to be hunted, chose to believe that weakness could be strength, that cowardice could be wisdom, that paying tribute to a con man could protect his family. And his son nearly died because of it. His neighborhood died because of it. Everything died because of it. The only question remaining, the only question that matters now, how many more will die before this war ends? How many more sons will bleed? How many more families will scatter? How many more will pay the price for one man's cowardice 7 years ago? June 1928. Santino leaves the hospital. 3 weeks recovering. Shoulder permanently damaged. Range of motion limited. Scars visible. Physical scars. The other kind run deeper. Invisible. Permanent. He doesn't speak to Vito. Not in the hospital. Not during recovery. Not when he comes home. Just silence. Cold. Final. The kind of silence that says more than words ever could. The kind that ends relationships, ends respect, ends everything between father and son. Carmela tries to bridge the gap, tries to explain, tries to make Santino understand that his father made choices he thought were right, thought were safe, thought would protect them. Santino's response ends the conversation. His choices almost killed me. His weakness made me a target. I won't be weak like him, ever. 11 years old, speaking like a man, thinking like a soldier, hardened by violence his father tried to avoid, became what his father feared, because his father's fear accomplished nothing, protected nothing, saved nothing. The gang war continues through summer. Maranzalla, Genovese, Lucchese families circling, fighting, bleeding. Little Italy becomes no man's land, neutral territory nobody wants, too damaged, too exposed, too many witnesses. Too many police after Santino's shooting made newspapers. Shops that survived the fires close anyway. Not from violence, from emptiness. No customers, no business, no reason to stay. The Benedettis moved to Philadelphia. The Costas try Boston. The Russos finally return to Sicily after 8 years in America. The dream dies. The neighborhood dies. Everything dies. Vito's collection work ends. Not fired, not eliminated, just irrelevant. Nobody left to collect from, no shops, no businesses, no tribute to gather. The system Fanucci built, the system Vito enforced. Dead, collapsed, gone. He tries to find legitimate work, applies at factories, at docks, at warehouses. But his reputation precedes him. Fanucci's collector, the man who took money from his own people, the man who chose the mafia over honest work. Nobody trusts him. Nobody hires him. Clemenza offers help. Small job, loading trucks, physical work, honest work, paid daily, no questions asked. Vito accepts, has no choice. His old partner, his old friend. The man who stayed independent while Vito submitted, now providing charity, providing pity, providing what Vito can't provide himself, survival. August 1928, 8 years since the night that changed everything. The night Vito stood on a rooftop with a gun and chose submission over courage. 8 years of consequences, 8 years of decay. 8 years watching everything he tried to protect collapse anyway. Santino disappears for days at a time, returns with money, won't say where it came from, won't explain, won't acknowledge Vito's questions, just takes food, takes clean clothes. Leaves again. 11 years old, living like a criminal, like an orphan, like someone with no father to guide him, to protect him, to teach him better ways. Because Vito taught him nothing except weakness, taught him that submission leads nowhere, taught him that the only thing worse than being a criminal is being a criminal's victim. So Santino chooses to never be a victim again, chooses crime over poverty, chooses power over powerlessness, chooses everything his father should have chosen 8 years ago. Fredo watches, 9 years old, sees his older brother become someone dangerous, someone feared, someone powerful, sees his father become someone irrelevant, someone ignored, someone powerless. And Fredo, weak, sickly, afraid, he doesn't know which path to choose. Can't be like Santino, too afraid, can't be like Vito, too ashamed. So Fredo becomes nothing, not criminal, not legitimate, just existing, just surviving, just fading into background of a family that's already scattered, already broken, already destroyed by choices made before he was old enough to understand them. Michael, 7 years old, smart, observant, watching everything, understanding more than anyone realizes. He sees what his father became, sees what Santino is becoming, sees the cost of both paths, violence and submission, power and weakness, predator and prey, and Michael, young Michael, already calculating, already planning, already knowing he'll choose differently, choose smarter, choose to never be either his father or his brother, choose to be something else entirely. But that's years away, decades away. Right now he's just a child whose father can't feed the family, can't protect the family, can't keep them together, can't do anything except load trucks for Clemenza and pretend submission was wisdom instead of cowardice. December 1928. Carmela's mother dies in Sicily. The letter arrives. Old, delayed. By the time they receive it, she's been dead 3 months. Buried, mourned. Forgotten by everyone except her daughter. Her daughter who can't afford to visit the grave, can't afford passage to Sicily, can't afford anything because her husband chose submission over power 8 years ago. Carmela doesn't blame Vito aloud. Doesn't need to. Her silence says everything. The way she looks at him, the way she doesn't look at him, the way she moves through their apartment like a ghost, like someone already dead, already gone, just waiting for the body to realize it. January 1929. The stock market is strong, economy booming, America prosperous. But none of that reaches Little Italy. None of that reaches the Corleone family. They exist outside prosperity, outside hope, outside everything except poverty and shame and the consequences of one night 8 years ago. Vito tries to explain to Carmela, tries to justify, tries to make her understand. He chose safety. He chose to protect them. He chose to believe Fanucci's power was real. He chose wrong, but he chose what he thought was right. Carmela's response is quiet, measured, final. You chose fear, and fear protected nothing. She's right. Vito knows she's right. 8 years of submission, 8 years of collecting tribute, 8 years of teaching his sons that power belongs to other men. And what did it earn? What did it protect? What did it save? Santino was shot, nearly died, now runs with criminals, 11 years old, already lost. Fredo is broken, afraid, weak, 9 years old, already damaged. Michael watches, learns, calculates, 7 years old, already planning escape. Connie, 3 years old, too young to understand, but she'll grow up in this apartment, this poverty, this shame. She'll learn eventually, learn what her father was, what he chose, what he cost them, and the neighborhood that could have been saved, could have been protected, could have been freed from Fanucci 8 years ago, dead, scattered, destroyed. Because one man chose submission over courage, because one man believed lies over instinct, because one man thought safety came from paying tribute instead of demanding respect. February 1929. Clemenza stops by the apartment, brings food, brings money, charity disguised as friendship. He sits with Vito, talks quietly, carefully. The conversation they should have had 8 years ago. I knew Fanucci was weak. You knew it too. We all knew, but you chose to believe him anyway. Why? Vito has no answer. No explanation that makes sense. Just fear, just doubt, just the weight of responsibility. A wife, children, the choice between risking everything or risking nothing. He chose to risk nothing, and lost everything anyway. Clemenza leaves money on the table. $40. More than Vito earned in a month collecting for Fanucci. More than he earns in a week loading trucks. Charity, pity, the only thing keeping his family fed, keeping them housed, keeping them alive. After Clemenza leaves, Vito counts the money. $40. The same amount he made as Fanucci's collector in 1920, before the increases, before the tribute escalated, before everything collapsed. He's back where he started. 8 years later, older, poorer, broken, with nothing to show except damaged sons and a dying neighborhood and the knowledge that every choice he made was wrong. That night he walks to Fanucci's old apartment building, still standing, abandoned now, windows broken, door hanging open. He climbs the stairs, 3rd floor, stands in the hallway where Fanucci died, where the Maranzalla family eliminated their liability, their problem, their conman who attracted too much attention. Vito pictures that other night, August 1920, the night he stood here with a gun and a choice, the night he could have killed Fanucci, could have freed the neighborhood, could have become the Godfather, could have protected his family, could have built an empire instead of watching one die. 3 shots. Chest, throat. That's all it would have taken. One night, one choice, one moment of courage instead of fear, and everything would be different. Everything would be better. Everything would be saved. But he chose submission, chose to believe, chose to pay tribute to a conman with no power. And 8 years later, his son nearly died. His neighborhood is destroyed. His family is broken. His reputation is gone. His future is nothing. And Fanucci died anyway. Died because real mafia families don't tolerate pretenders. Don't accept con men. Don't leave loose ends alive. Vito stands in that hallway, empty, dark, cold, and understands completely. Finally, too late. Always too late. The lesson he should have learned 8 years ago. The lesson Santino learned in a hospital bed. The lesson Michael is learning by watching his father's failure. In this world, in this life, in this neighborhood. Submission doesn't buy safety, doesn't buy protection, doesn't buy anything except time. Time to watch everything you tried to protect collapse anyway. Time to see your sons become what you feared. Time to become what you swore you'd never be. Powerless, irrelevant, forgotten. Vito walks back down the stairs, back to his apartment, back to his family that isn't really a family anymore, just people sharing space, sharing shame, sharing the consequences of one man's cowardice 8 years ago. And outside, the neighborhood dies, slowly, quietly, inevitably, just like everything else Vito touched. Everything he tried to save, everything his submission destroyed. October 1929. The stock market collapses. Black Tuesday. Wall Street panic. Banks fail. Fortunes evaporate. America enters the Great Depression. For most families, this is catastrophe. For the Corleone family, it's just another layer of destruction. Another consequence of choices made 9 years ago. Another weight on shoulders already crushed. Vito loses his loading job. Clemenza's trucking business shrinks. No cargo to move. No money to pay workers. No charity left to give. Vito is 42 years old. No job. No prospects. No connections. No power. Just a man who chose submission and received nothing in return. Santino is 12. Runs full-time with street gangs now. Not Irish anymore. Italian crews. Younger version of what the mafia used to be. What it could have been if Vito had chosen differently. Santino brings money home. Won't say how he earns it. Vito doesn't ask. Can't ask. Has no authority. No respect. No position to question his son's choices when his own choices destroyed everything. The money Santino brings keeps them fed. Barely. Keeps them housed. Temporarily. But it's criminal money. Dangerous money. Money that comes with violence and risk and the certainty that eventually Santino will end up dead or imprisoned. just like hundreds of young men with no fathers to guide them, no protection to shield them, no family power to keep them safe. Frido is 10, works as errand boy for local shops. The few that remain, makes pennies, comes home exhausted, weak lungs getting worse, the kind of sickness that kills poor children. The kind that money could fix. The kind of money Vito would have if he'd built an empire instead of serving a con man for 7 years. Michael is 8, still in school, still watching, still learning. He sees what submission created, sees what his father became, sees what his brothers are becoming. And Michael, young Michael, already planning, already calculating, already knowing that both paths lead nowhere. Submission leads to poverty. Street crime leads to death. There must be a third way, a smarter way, a way that combines power with patience, violence with strategy. But that understanding is years away. Right now, he's just a child in a dying neighborhood watching his family disintegrate. By 1930, Little Italy is unrecognizable. Half the buildings abandoned, shops boarded, streets empty. The vibrant neighborhood that existed in 1920 is gone, replaced by poverty, desperation, emptiness. The families that made Little Italy home scattered across America, across the world, anywhere except here, anywhere except the neighborhood Fanucci destroyed, the neighborhood Vito could have saved. In the real timeline, the timeline that never happened, the timeline that could have been, August 1920 went differently. Vito pulled the trigger. 3 shots. Fanucci died. Vito became Don Corleone, protected the neighborhood, built Genco Olive Oil Company, created connections, earned respect, kept families safe. When the Depression arrived in that timeline, the Corleones survived, thrived even, protected by power, by connections, by the empire Vito built. In that timeline, Santino grows up the son of a Don, learns strategy, learns patience, learns how to wield power instead of just surviving violence. He becomes underboss, capable, fierce but protected, never shot at 11, never forced to choose between poverty and crime without guidance. In that timeline, Fredo still struggles, still weak, but protected by family power, given positions he can handle, cared for, valued, not thrown into poverty to fend for himself. In that timeline, Michael goes to college, becomes the educated son his father dreamed of, the legitimate face of the family, the future. Never forced to watch his father's humiliation, never forced to choose between his father's weakness and his brother's recklessness. But that timeline doesn't exist. That future died on a rooftop in August 1920, when Vito chose fear over courage, chose to believe lies over instinct, chose submission over power. And 9 years of consequences followed. 9 years of watching everything collapse. 9 years of proving that submission protects nothing, saves no one, accomplishes only delay, only postponement, only the illusion of safety while real danger grows stronger. June 1931. Santino is arrested. 13 years old. Robbery. Armed robbery. Adults would face prison. Juveniles face reform school. Either way, criminal record. Either way, future destroyed. Either way, another consequence of having no father with power to protect him. No family with connections to make charges disappear. No Don to make one phone call and solve everything. Vito can't help, can't fix it, can't do anything except watch his son taken away. Watch the system that crushes the powerless do what it was designed to do. Crush the powerless. Carmela stops speaking entirely. Not angry anymore. Past anger, past emotion. Just empty. Hollow. Existing without living. Breathing without purpose. Watching her family die piece by piece. Watching her husband become a ghost. Watching her sons become criminals or victims or both. Watching her daughter grow up in poverty that could have been prevented. That should have been prevented. That would have been prevented if one man had chosen courage 9 years ago. September 1932. Clemenza visits one last time, not bringing charity anymore, bringing news. He's leaving Little Italy, moving his operations to the Bronx, fresh territory. New opportunities. He's moving up, joining a real family, the Genovese organization, becoming caporegime, becoming what he could have been if Vito had led them instead of following Fanucci. You should have killed him, Vito. That night in 1920, you knew he was weak. We all knew. But you chose fear, and fear protects nothing. Clemenza leaves. Doesn't look back. Why would he? Vito is past, irrelevant, a cautionary tale, a lesson in what not to become. What happens when talent meets cowardice, when opportunity meets hesitation, when a man who could have been Don becomes nothing instead. December 1935. 15 years since the night that changed nothing, that preserved nothing, that saved nothing. Vito is 48, looks 60, worn, broken, grey. Working odd jobs, day labour, whatever he can find, making barely enough to keep his family fed, keep them sheltered, keep them alive but not living. Santino is 17, released from reform school, harder, colder, more dangerous, immediately rejoins criminal crews, more serious now, more violent, more reckless. The path that leads to prison or death, the path that boys without fathers take, the path Vito created by choosing submission 15 years ago. Fredo is 15, still weak, still sick, working whatever jobs his health allows, knowing he'll never be strong, never be capable, never be anything except burden, resenting Vito, resenting Santino, resenting everyone except himself. Michael is 13, in school still, good grades, smart kid, teachers notice, see potential, see intelligence, see someone who could escape this neighborhood, this poverty, this fate. If he chooses, if he's given opportunity, if his family doesn't pull him down the way it pulled down his brothers. But Michael sees the truth already, sees what submission created, sees what his father became, and Michael knows, understands completely. There is no middle ground, no safe position, no way to avoid the choice. You're either predator or prey, either powerful or powerless, either Don or victim. There is nothing between, nothing else, nothing safe. Connie is 9, growing up in poverty, growing up watching her mother's emptiness, her father's failure, her brother's different forms of destruction, growing up learning that women have even less power than weak men, that without family protection, without father's strength, women become targets, become victims, become traded and used and destroyed. This is what submission created. This is what choosing fear accomplished. This is what believing lies instead of instinct produced. Not safety, not protection, not survival, just slow death. Slow dissolution, slow destruction of everything Vito tried to preserve by refusing to fight. In Sicily, Vito's story would have been different. In Sicily, when Don Ciccio killed his family, Vito fled, survived, waited. In Sicily, blood demands blood. Weakness invites destruction. Power protects everything. Submission protects nothing. Vito learned that lesson as a child, watched his father die for refusing tribute, watched his brother die for promising revenge, watched his mother die for begging mercy. The lesson was clear. The lesson was simple. The lesson was absolute. In this world, you kill or you die. You dominate or you submit. You become Don or you become victim. But in America, Vito forgot. Thought the new world had new rules. Thought submission could buy safety. Thought paying tribute was wisdom instead of cowardice. Thought fear was protection instead of poison. He was wrong, completely wrong, fatally wrong, and 15 years of consequences proved it, proved that the old rules still apply, proved that power protects everything, proved that submission accomplishes nothing except delaying inevitable destruction. Fanucci should have died August 1920, 1 bullet, 3 shots, 1 night. That's all it would have taken, and everything would be different, everything would be better, everything would be saved. But Vito chose fear, and fear is a disease, a cancer, a poison that spreads through families, through neighborhoods, through generations. His fear destroyed Little Italy, destroyed his sons, destroyed his family, destroyed himself. The lesson is simple. The lesson is brutal. The lesson is true. There is no safety in submission, no protection in obedience, no mercy for the weak. This world, this life, this existence. It doesn't reward peace, doesn't reward caution, doesn't reward anything except power, raw power, ruthless power, the power to protect what's yours, the power to destroy what threatens you, the power to choose violence before violence chooses you. Vito Corleone could have been the Godfather, could have built an empire, could have protected his family, could have saved his neighborhood, could have left a legacy of power instead of poverty, of respect instead of shame, of protection instead of destruction. But he chose fear, and fear protects nothing, saves no one, accomplishes only delay before inevitable destruction arrives. That's the truth Vito learned too late. The truth his sons are learning now. The truth everyone learns eventually. In this world, in this life, in this existence, you're either predator or prey, either don or victim, either powerful or dead. And the only thing worse than choosing violence is refusing to choose it when violence is the only choice that matters.